All right, so you're getting ready for a chemistry teacher interview. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And we're here to help you out with this deep dive into RoleCatcher's resources. They have some really impressive stuff.
Yeah, what's really cool is we're not just going to be skimming the surface here. We're going to really unpack those insider tips from RoleCatcher's Career Guide that will really help you stand out.
Yeah. Let's start with something that I think is often the most intimidating question for people. Why did you choose to become a chemistry teacher? It's in RoleCatcher's Interview Guide intro and the first sample question. And so many people, I think, stumble on that.
Yeah, it seems so simple, but it's really about conveying genuine passion. So, think back to what first sparked your interest in chemistry. Was it a specific experiment? Or a teacher that just totally blew your mind? Or was there a certain moment where you just understood a concept and it was like, whoa.
Right. And I
I
think
could just
job security isn't going to cut it here.
Right.
We want to hear your story. And I think what's cool is that RoleCatcher's AI can actually help you kind of refine how you tell that story and tailor to that specific school or job description.
Absolutely. And remember, those hiring managers are looking for someone who's going to ignite that same passion in the students. So let that enthusiasm shine through.
Okay. All right, so let's move on to the next question. The guide asks, how do you keep students engaged and interested in chemistry? And this is where I think we move beyond just knowing the subject and we get into the art of teaching.
Right. It's 2024, not 1954. So lecturing for an hour just isn't going to cut it. So this is your chance to show that you understand how to make chemistry exciting and relevant to teenagers today.
Yeah, and the guide emphasizes real-world applications.
Yeah.
What are some concrete examples that come to mind?
Well, I think connecting chemical reactions to things that students experience every day, like baking is a fantastic example. It's all about chemical transformations. Or you could talk about the chemistry behind smartphones or cosmetics.
Oh, that's great. I love those examples. And what I think is interesting is RoleCatcher's AI suggests tailoring your examples to the school's demographics and location. So for instance, if you're interviewing in a rural area, you might want to connect chemistry to agriculture or local industries.
Exactly. It's all about showing you've put thought into how to make chemistry come alive for that specific group of students.
Yeah. Speaking of different students, the third question in the guide is about diverse learners. How do you tailor your teaching approach to meet the needs of students with varying strengths, learning styles, and challenges?
Yeah, this is a huge one. You need to show that you're prepared to differentiate instruction and provide support and create an inclusive learning environment.
Right. And RoleCatcher's Career Guide emphasizes adapting teaching to individual capabilities. Do you have any advice on how to convey this effectively in the interview?
Well, again, specific examples are really key here. So you want to talk about how you use different assessment methods or provide tiered assignments or incorporate visual aids and hands-on activities to appeal to different learning styles.
Right. Oh, that's a good point. And, it just reminded me in the Career Guide, one of the tips is identify learning disorders.
Yeah.
And I think being able to identify students that might need extra support is such a valuable skill.
Oh, absolutely. You don't have to be an expert in diagnosing learning disorders, but showing awareness and a willingness to collaborate with specialists, that's super important.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about sparking passion for chemistry and catering to diverse learners. Now let's get into assessment. The next question from RoleCatcher's Interview Guide is, how do you assess student learning and progress in your classroom?
This is where you get to showcase a deeper understanding of what assessment really is. It's not just about grades, it's about truly understanding whether students are grasping those concepts.
Yeah. And I noticed the Career Guide mentions data-driven instruction. Could you explain what that means and how it applies to assessing student learning?
Yeah, so data-driven instruction is all about using data from those assessments, your observations, student work, and using that to inform your teaching practices. It's about making adjustments based on evidence, not just your gut feeling.
So it's a go being detective. Gathering clues about what students understand and then using those clues to refine how you're teaching.
Exactly.
I love that.
And when you answer this question, make sure you mention a variety of different assessment methods, projects, presentations, labs, quizzes, the whole gamut, and how you use the data from those assessments to guide your instruction.
Oh, and what I think is cool is RoleCatcher's AI actually helps you identify relevant keywords from the job description, like data-driven instruction. And then it suggests ways to kind of weave that into your answer naturally.
Yeah, that's really helpful.
Okay, let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about handling challenges. The guide asks, can you describe a particularly challenging situation you faced in the classroom and how you handled it?
Oh yeah, this one. This question is really designed to assess your problem-solving skills and your resilience. It's not about being perfect. It's about showing how you learn from challenges and grow as an educator.
So choose an example that highlights you staying calm and analyzing the situation and taking appropriate action. Maybe it was a disruptive student, or a failed experiment, or just a really difficult concept the students were struggling with.
Right, and focus on the solution and the lessons you learned. Did you adjust your teaching approach, seek support from colleagues, or discover a new strategy that you now use all the time?
Yeah, and I think this is another area where RoleCatcher's AI can be super helpful. It can analyze your answers and kind of pinpoint areas for improvement. Maybe suggest highlighting specific skills like conflict resolution or adaptability, things that are really valued in teaching.
It's like having a coach in your corner giving you feedback.
Now let's move on to a question that I think is becoming increasingly important in education. How do you incorporate technology into your teaching? This is question 6 of the interview guide, and it also ties into the career guide section on technology advances.
Right, chemistry is a really dynamic field, and technology plays a huge role, both in research and in education. So you need to show that you're comfortable using technology to make your teaching better.
Right, and so don't just list like random tech tools. Choose examples that are relevant to teaching chemistry and explain how you actually use them.
Yeah, like think about simulations and virtual labs, online resources, or even using student-created videos to demonstrate concepts. Like you could mention using PHET simulations to help visualize molecular interactions, or using online databases to explore chemical structures.
Those are such good examples. And you know what's cool is that RoleCatcher's AI can suggest specific tools and resources based on the job description and the school's technology infrastructure. It's like having a personalized tech consultant.
I love that, and it really shows that you're tailoring your answers to that specific job that you want.
Yeah, absolutely. So far, we've tackled some of the most common questions that come up in a chemistry teacher interview using RoleCatcher's resources. But let's face it, interviews can throw some curveballs.
Yeah, absolutely. And being able to handle those unexpected questions with grace and insight, that can really set you apart.
And I think that's where preparation and thinking on your feet really come in. So while RoleCatcher's Guide doesn't have a specific section on curveball questions, they do sprinkle in tips throughout the career advice. And one that stood out to me was about staying current in the field. They ask, how do you stay up to date with developments and advancements in the field of chemistry?
Oh, this is a great one. It's your chance to show that you're dedicated to lifelong learning, which is so important for any educator, especially in a field that's constantly evolving like chemistry.
Yeah, and it's tempting to just say, I read journals. But I think we need to go a little deeper than that. What are some examples that demonstrate a genuine commitment to staying ahead of the curve?
Well, think beyond textbooks and required professional development. Do you subscribe to any chemistry journals or online publications? Do you follow influential chemists or research institutions on social media, conferences, workshops?
I love those points because mentioning specific journals or organizations shows you're actively engaged with what's happening.
Right. And don't be afraid to mention online communities or forums where you chat about chemistry with other educators. It shows you're collaborative.
Yeah. And of course, RoleCatcher's AI can suggest relevant journals or organizations based on the job description and the school's focus. So if they're really big on sustainability, you might mention a journal focused on green chemistry.
That kind of personalization is impressive. It shows that you've done your homework and you're really interested in contributing to their specific community.
Okay, now let's talk about a question that I think can feel like a curveball, even though it's pretty standard. Tell me about a time you failed. Everyone makes mistakes, but it's really how you handle those setbacks that says a lot about you.
Right. So choose an example where you can really highlight the lessons you learned and how you grew from the experience. Don't dwell on the failure itself. Focus on your response and the positive changes you made.
For example, maybe you tried a new teaching strategy that completely backfired. Instead of beating yourself up about it, talk about how you analyzed what went wrong. Maybe you got feedback from colleagues, and you adjusted your approach to better meet your students' needs.
Yeah, that's a great example. It shows self-awareness, a willingness to learn, and a commitment to getting better.
And again, RoleCatcher's AI can analyze your responses and suggest areas for improvement, maybe highlighting certain skills like adaptability or problem solving, which are super valuable in teaching.
It's like having a personal feedback loop.
Okay, another common curveball is, what is your biggest weakness? Which can be tricky. But I think it's an opportunity to show self-awareness and a commitment to growth.
Right. The key is to choose a weakness that is relevant to the job, but also something that you are actively working on improving. You don't want to say, I'm a perfectionist or I work too hard, but those are so cliche, and they don't really tell us anything.
Instead, choose something specific and actionable. So you can say something like, I sometimes struggle with time management, but I've been using a new planning system to prioritize my tasks and stay on track.
That's much better. It shows you're aware of your weaknesses, but you're not letting them define you. You're taking action.
Now, even though it's not explicitly stated in the interview guide, RoleCatcher's Career Guide has a section on typical interactions. That suggests being prepared for questions about collaborating with colleagues and parents. So you might get asked something like, how would you handle a parent who's concerned about their child's grade?
Absolutely. Building those relationships with parents is so essential. So when you answer this question, emphasize your communication skills, your ability to listen and understand, and your willingness to work together to address their concerns.
I think a specific example can make your answer even stronger. So maybe you had a parent who was worried about their child's lab performance. You could talk about how you scheduled a meeting, listen to their concerns, explain your grading criteria, and maybe offer some extra support to help the student improve.
That's a perfect example. It shows you're approachable, proactive, and dedicated to helping students succeed.
Yeah. And again, RoleCatcher's AI can help you tailor your answer to the specific school or district. So if they have a really big emphasis on parent involvement, you might want to highlight your experience with parent-teacher conferences or communication platforms.
It's all about showing you understand their values and you're ready to be a part of their team.
Another curveball that I think is becoming increasingly important in education is about diversity and inclusion. So while it's not specifically mentioned in RoleCatcher's interview, guide interviewers might ask, how would you create a welcoming and inclusive learning environment in your chemistry classroom?
This is a very important question. It's your chance to show that you understand how important it is to represent diverse perspectives in science and to create a fair learning experience for all students.
Yeah. And it's not enough to just say, I treat all students equally. We need to hear concrete examples of how you actually promote inclusivity in your teaching.
So think about how you choose examples in case studies, how you run discussions, and how you respond to students' questions and ideas. Do you make sure to highlight the work of scientists from underrepresented groups? Do you give students chances to share their own cultural experiences and perspectives?
Those are really important points. And remember, diversity and inclusion encompass so many different factors. Yeah. Race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, learning styles, abilities. It's all encompassed. And this is another area where RoleCatcher's AI can help you. It can identify keywords related to diversity and inclusion from the job description and suggest ways to work them into your answers. For example, if the school really values culturally responsive teaching, you might highlight your experience with differentiated instruction or using culturally relevant materials.
It's about showing that you're not just talking the talk, but you're walking the walk.
Okay, let's tackle another potential curveball, the dreaded salary question. What are your salary expectations? I think this can feel really awkward, but it's important to go unprepared with a well-researched answer.
Right, and luckily RoleCatcher's platform provides salary insights for different teaching roles and locations, so you can get a realistic idea of what to expect. And you can even mention that you've done your research using their resources.
That's a good tip. And when you're discussing salary, focus on your experience qualifications and the value you bring to the table.
Right. Remember, you're negotiating, not demanding. So express flexibility and a willingness to talk about different options.
Yeah. And I think it's always good to emphasize that you're primarily looking for the right fit, a school where you can really contribute and make a difference.
Absolutely.
Okay. So interviewers almost always end with, do you have any questions for us? And I know it can be tempting to just say no. But I think it's really important to have some thoughtful questions prepared. Questions that show you've done your research and you're genuinely curious about the school and the position.
Exactly. Like you could ask about their approach to professional development, their vision for the science department, or any initiatives they have to support student success.
And again, RoleCatcher's Career Guide can give you some ideas for questions.
Yeah.
Based on those typical interactions and staying updated sections.
It's a great resource for coming up with insightful and relevant questions.
And remember, asking questions also helps you gather information to figure out if it's truly the right fit for you. It's a two-way street. We've covered a lot of ground today, exploring those tricky curveball questions and emphasizing the importance of preparation research and using resources like RoleCatcher's AI platform and their career guides.
Right. And remember, practice makes perfect. So use RoleCatcher's AI to practice answering those common interview questions. Get personalized feedback. You can even do a mock interview with their AI interviewer.
Yeah, the more you practice, the more confident you'll be when you walk into that real interview. And remember, even if you get thrown a curveball, Just stay calm. Think it through. And let your passion for teaching shine through.
You got this.
Okay, so we've spent quite a bit of time talking about these very specific questions and how to approach them. But now I kind of want to zoom out a little and talk about something that can really give you an edge throughout this whole interview process. And that is RoleCatcher's AI.
Yeah, it's really more than just a cool feature. I mean, in today's world where everybody's vying for the same positions, using AI to refine how you're going about this can be a total game changer.
So I'm curious, how does this AI actually work in the context of interview prep? Like, does it write my answers for me?
Haha. No, not exactly. You can think of it more like a super skilled editor and a coach. So it analyzes that job description, and it pulls out these keywords that hiring managers are probably looking for, and then it suggests ways to weave those keywords into your answers naturally.
So it's not just about what you say, it's about how you say it, and make sure that it's really resonating with what that school is looking for.
Exactly. For example, if the job description really emphasizes inquiry-based learning, RoleCatcher's AI might recommend that you use phrases like encouraging student-led investigations or facilitating open-ended experiments.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you're speaking their language and demonstrating that you align with their educational philosophy.
Right. And it goes beyond just keywords. RoleCatcher's AI can actually help you tailor your answers to that specific school or district. It can analyze their website, their mission statement, even news articles to figure out what they value.
Oh, wow. So for example, if a school is really well known for their focus on STEM education, the AI might recommend highlighting experiences that show you've done project-based learning or collaborations with like local tech companies or something.
Exactly. It's all about going deeper than those generic answers and showing that you've really done your research, you understand their situation, and you're truly excited to be a part of what they're doing.
Yeah, I love that. So this AI seems like a really powerful tool for crafting these targeted and impactful answers. But is there a risk? I mean, is there a risk of sounding too robotic or rehearsed if you lean on it too much?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, RoleCatcher's AI is really designed to be more of a support system, not a scriptwriter. It makes suggestions, gives you some guidance, but ultimately you need to take that information and deliver your answers with authenticity, with enthusiasm. It's got to be you.
Right. So it's about finding that balance between using this amazing technology and still letting your own personality and passion shine through.
Exactly. Like, think of it this way. RoleCatcher's AI helps you build a solid foundation. But you're the architect who designs the unique and compelling structure on top of it.
I like that. Okay, so another feature that I find really interesting is the AI-powered feedback system. So tell me more about how that works.
Okay, so it's basically like having a personal interview coach right there in your pocket. You can practice answering those typical interview questions, and you get instant feedback on how you're doing, like how clear you are what you're saying.
So it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Does it analyze things like tone of voice and body language?
Well, it doesn't do body language yet, but it does give you feedback on your pacing, your clarity, if you're using too many filler words. It can even tell if you're using really complex language or jargon that might not be appropriate for an interview.
Wow, that is so helpful. It's like having a virtual mirror, helping you see those areas where you can improve.
Right. And the more you practice, the more feedback you get, the more confident you'll be when you're actually sitting in front of those hiring managers.
So it sounds like RoleCatcher's AI is a total game changer when it comes to interview prep. But let's be real for a second. No AI can truly replace the human element of an interview. So what advice would you give to people listening about finding that balance between using this technology and showing off their unique skills and their personality?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. RoleCatcher's AI is powerful, but it's not magic. It can help you prepare, but it can't replace your own genuine enthusiasm, your ability to communicate clearly, and that passion for teaching.
So it's about using AI as a tool to get better, but ultimately you're the one driving the conversation and showing them who you really are.
Exactly. Think of AI as your co-pilot, helping you navigate all the complexities of this interview process, but you're the pilot. You're responsible for bringing your skills, your experience, and your passion to the table.
Okay, so we've spent a good chunk of time talking about how amazing this AI is, but now I kind of want to step back and think about the bigger picture for a second. No AI can completely replace that human connection that you make in an interview. So how can our listeners strike that balance between using this awesome technology and still making sure they're showcasing their own unique skills and personality?
You're so right. I mean, RoleCatcher's AI is really powerful.
Yeah.
But it's not a substitute for genuine enthusiasm, clear communication, and that passion for teaching that you bring to the table.
So use AI to help you prepare.
Yeah.
But you're the one leading the conversation.
Exactly.
So what we've been talking about today is really just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to preparing for a chemistry teacher interview.
Right.
We've gone through some common questions.
We've talked about curveballs.
And we've really highlighted how powerful RoleCatcher's AI can be.
And how helpful.
Yeah. And we hope that you're walking away from this feeling more confident and prepared to ace those interviews.
You got this.
And don't forget to check out RoleCatcher's platform for a ton more resources that can help you along the way.